special edition of our English language session. Today we're going to see a very simple thing in mathematics. Welcome class and viewers at home, particularly students. I welcome you to this special edition of our English language session coming to you from NTA Gusau as part of series of lessons and teaching sessions organized by the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, MSSN Zamfara State, and in conjunction with the Nigerian Television Authority, Gusau. As you must have been told much earlier, you will get to learn a lot of concepts and details on English language syllabus as well as other subjects in the secondary school curriculum, particularly meant for those who are to write their examination. But unfortunately, because of the present pandemic of COVID-19, they are now staying safe at home. But technology has provided opportunity for them to learn. And this is just what we are doing today. My name is San Ahmed Sambo, and I will be teaching you English language. The topic for today, students here present and those at home, has to do with the spoken aspect of English language, because it is an integral part of what the students are expected to be tested on when they are to write their WAEC, NECO, which is fundamentally the target of this particular session. So let me not forget to say that this is English for specific purpose with the special target audience in mind. But I believe other users will also find what we are going to do handy, and then they will learn a lot from it. So feel free, relax, stay safe at home, but get your pen and a paper, because you are going to do some few exercises in the course of this production. So, like I said, the topic for today is English language, oral practice. Oral what? Practice. Can I hear you? Oral practice. From our JS1, 2, 3, 4, we have been taught a lot of aspects to do with various skills of the language, from listening to speaking to reading and to writing. But this particular aspect that we are going to treat today is going to do with spoken aspect, that is the speaking ability. Good speakers of any language get their background from the knowledge of the sounds and how they are produced. So the objectives of today's particular lesson is: number one, what organs of speech produce sounds? Specifically, what organs of speech produce English language sounds? So the first, I will say, organs of speech. Organs of what? Speech. Organs of speech. So what organs of speech produce English sounds? Number two, how do these organs of speech produce English sounds? Then, number three, what are the sounds? So when you look at the objectives, let me put it here by way of summary. What organs of speech produce human sounds. But because we are dealing with English language, the question will be, what organs of speech produce English sounds? How do these organs of speech produce English sounds? So we have a question mark here. And then, what are the sounds? So, as we are aware, articulation of sounds involves certain organs of speech production. The first are the lips, the upper and the lower lip. We also have the teeth, human teeth. I hope you are taking note. Viewers at home, if you are interested to join this class, it is free, courtesy of MSSN and NTA Gusau. Get a pen and a paper, write the human tongue, then the teeth. The tongue is divided into three when we are talking about production of sounds. The tip of the tongue, the front of the tongue, and the back of the tongue. If we are to draw it this way, let's assume that this is a human tongue. I don't know how to draw very well because perhaps this looks like a knife. It is not a knife, it is a human tongue. And for the purpose of speech production, we divide it into three. Tip of the tongue, front of the tongue, and then back of the tongue. We need to know this. The reason being that among all the organs of speech, the tongue is the most, active organ of speech because it travels from different angles of the mouth and meet other organs of speech to articulate sounds. For instance, the tongue will raise up and come in between the upper and the lower teeth to produce a sound TH, or what we represent as V, or this one is voiced TH sound, and this one is voiceless TH sound. So this is just a general introduction I'm trying to give. We shall talk in a greater detail subsequently in the course of this presentation. So you see, tip of the tongue, front of the tongue, and back of the tongue. Tip of the tongue is where you used to test your soup to know whether there is enough salt in it or not. That area, we call it tip of the tongue. And then the front of the tongue, somewhere around here. And then the back of the tongue. Certain sounds that you want to produce, you only need to raise the tip of the tongue to meet the alveolar ridge. In the upper part of your mouth, there are some ridges immediately after the upper teeth. That is when you have the ridges. They are called alveolar ridge. If you want to produce sounds like, for instance, ta or da, it is the tip of the tongue that will raise and then block the air around the roof of the mouth, around the alveolar ridge. So the shape of the tongue will now change and will raise up like this. So you have ta, ta. Can you practice that for me? Ta, ta, ta.
Ta, ta, ta.
Again?
Ta, ta, ta.
Take.
Take.
T. It is the tip of the tongue that will move up to block the air, and then you get this sound or this sound. Then we also have the hard palate. The hard palate is an area that when you put your hand, after the teeth ridge or the alveolar ridge, you get a surface there that is very strong. When you put your hand there, that's what we call hard palate. So it is also part of the organs of speech. Then we have the nasal cavity. Around the nose here, if an acid is to be poured on it, everything here will melt. And when you look at the human skeleton system, you see an area around here, a space inside. It has significance in speech production. Because if there is any disease that blocks that area, you find that the person may not be able to pronounce sounds correctly, particularly the nasal sounds, because we have the sounds that we call nasal sounds. Sounds that are produced by blocking the air around the mouth region, but then the air escapes through the nose. That nose that nasal cavity provides the space through which the air can escape. So when you say ma, 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 you block the air, but the air escapes through your nose. If you are to block your nose, can you practice that? Block your nose like this. Okay, say many, many men. Say it louder.
Many men.
Okay, remove your hands. You see, this quality of the sound is affected because the air naturally is supposed to escape from the nose. But because you block it, then it will have that. So there is also the soft palate. The soft palate is in the inner part of the mouth. And it is the back of the tongue that normally raises up to block the air around the soft palate. The soft palate is the area that when you touch it too much, you vomit. I believe you can identify that area. Viewers at home, if you like, you can practice, but please make sure you wash your hand very well before you do that. So, these are some of the organs of speech. The main objective is what are the sounds and how they are produced. So I'm giving you this in brief so that you know that the coordination of the sounds will determine whether or not you will be able to pronounce the sounds correctly. So I will advise that viewers at home, students here, get some books and read a lot on aspects of human organs of speech and how they produce the sound. So the issue of how do they produce these sounds, it depends on the sounds. The sounds are classified or are described based on 3 criteria. I think I can clean this. Can I go ahead to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Each sound you see in English or any other language has certain characteristics in such a way that if you just tell me 3 characteristics of a sound, you don't need to tell me the sound. I should be able to tell you this is the sound you are referring to. So what are these characteristics? Number 1 is the place of articulation. Say it, let me hear you. Place of
Articulation.
Place of articulation. Number 2 is manner of articulation. Say it.
Manner of articulation.
Number 3 is state of the glottis. Say it.
State of the glottis.
Now listen carefully. Like I said, it's oral practice. You can hardly teach this aspect without practice and you succeed. It is never possible. But sometimes students, especially at the junior secondary school level and primary school level, tend to be laughing at their teachers in the course of practicing the sounds. Yes, in the course of teaching and learning, certain aspects will elicit laughter, and then it is okay, there's no problem. But as we laugh in the class on a lighter mood, we should also know that it is very important to listen carefully and then learn how to pronounce these sounds and then do them correctly. So place of articulation is talking about at which area of the mouth, or what are the organs of speech that are involved in this production. For instance, you have something like this: ba sound or pa sound. If you want to produce this sound, it is the combination of the upper and the what? Lower lips that block the air and then release it at once with some force to produce ba or pa. Let's do it. Ba, pa.
Ba, ba, ba.
Again.
Ba, pa.
Again.
Ba,
Mhm.
pa.
People.
People.
Book.
Book.
People.
People.
Book.
Book.
You find that initially the air is completely blocked. but then it is released with some force. So this kind of sounds, the place of articulation is at the point of lips. And that is why we call them bilabial. By what? Bilabials. The two lips come together to produce the sound pa and ba. So unless you know the place of articulation, the tendency is that if you are a Hausa, you may mispronounce this sound by pronouncing it as fa or feeful. So when we hear the word feeful, we know it's an error. And this error is caused because the speaker thinks that what he is pronouncing is the same thing with the one he finds in his native language. Errors, let me say categorically, that they are natural linguistic phenomena. They are natural in the course of learning a second language. But as you make a lot of practice, you gradually reduce the number of errors you commit, and then it elevates your competence and performance of the language you are learning as a second language. So the key to this is practice and practice and practice. And you practice through what? Through learning from good models. It is not compulsory that you must speak like a native of England, but you can make some attempts to reach a level of acceptance in terms of your pronunciation and your grammar. So, place of articulation, at which point do you articulate these sounds? If it is between the upper and the lower lips, you call it bilabial, means two lips. If it is a combination of the tip of the tongue, like I told you earlier, plus the alveolar ridge that will block the air, it will be called alveolar sounds. They are called what? Alveolar sounds. This teeth ridge, what the Hausas call dasashi, I'm sorry to use this, is called alveolar ridge. It is the tip of the tongue that will block the air, and then you pronounce the sound ta or da. So that is why in terms of place of articulation, it is called alveolar. Then the manner of articulation. You are describing a sound. What is the manner of articulation? So if you say, what is the place of articulating this? You say it's bilabial. Why do you call it bilabial?
Because it is formed by two lips.
Two lips, yes. Then the other one we say it is alveolar sound. Why do you call it alveolar?
Because
No, don't give me chorus answer. Jao.
Because it deals with the combination with the alveolar ridge.
Yes, alveolar ridge is the main place of articulation. Like I said earlier, the tongue is chief mobile speech organ because it moves up, down, it leaves its original place to the alveolar. Sometimes it spreads around the mouth, sometimes it remains where it is, sometimes it vibrates or it floats as you make attempt to pronounce different sounds. But some of the speech organs are in one place, and that is why we have the classification of stationary speech organs and then mobile speech organs. The lips are also mobile speech organs because they change their shape, they leave their place. Some of the sounds you produce are with the combination of lips and the upper teeth. You have father, foot. But teeth, alveolar ridge are stationary speech organs. They don't change position. But others will move to where they are and then they articulate with them. Hence the name alveolar sounds. Then the sounds that you produce with the back of the tongue, pushing the soft palate. Let's assume that this is the tongue. The tip of the tongue is pronouncing, when you want to pronounce T, the tip of the tongue will raise up to block the air around the teeth ridge. And you have ta or da. If you want to produce ka or ga, the back of the tongue here will raise up to block the air around the soft palate. you have ka or ga. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
So, what of state of the glottis? Most of these sounds go in pairs. The vibration of the vocal cord. Vocal folds inside the what they call Adam's apple. There are two of them there. Sometimes they vibrate, sometimes they don't. When they vibrate, we have a voiced sound. When they don't vibrate, we have a voiceless sound. Can we practice this? Put your hands here. Okay, all of you say pa 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 pa. Okay, say ba 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 ba. Okay, remove your hands. Which one do you hear vibration? Ba. Because that is when the vocal cord will vibrate. Whenever you have vibration in the sound, we say you have a voiced sound. And when it doesn't vibrate, we have a voiceless sound. As in the case of this, we have pa, 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 voiceless. Ba, 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 voiced. The same thing with sa, 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 voiceless. Za, 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 voiced. That is the only difference. So the state of the glottis is asking whether is there vibration or not. If there is vibration, we have a voiced sound. If there is no vibration, we have a voiceless sound. Do you have any question you want to ask me on this before I move to the next segment?
Yes.
Yes?
Now when you said that the back of the tongue pushing the soft palate.
Palate. You need more explanation on that?
What is the particular name given to the
Velar sound. Because the soft palate is equally called a velar. So that area is called velar. So you call it velar sound. The back of the tongue will move up to produce ka. If you will check the mirror, you will see that the tip of the tongue is now lying flat in the mouth. But in the inner part, it is moving towards the roof of the mouth to produce the sound. So, any other question? Okay. Now, having given you this panoramic background, we shall now move on to start talking about the sounds of English. Every language of the world has its own sounds. Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, Ishekiri, Ibibio, Zulu, and so on. But for the English language, we have 44 sounds, though there are some recent arguments that there are more than 44. But for the purpose of this particular class, meant for the secondary school students, we shall be looking at the 44 sounds of English in our next session, made up of vowels and consonant sounds. Thanks for watching, and before we go, I want you to list at least 5 organs of speech and explain what they mean. I hope you are having your book there and your pen. Then the second question is, what do we mean by state of the glottis when we are talking about describing a sound? Then number 3, finally, do you think knowledge of organs of speech is important in pronunciation? Thank you very much, my ever-ready students and viewers at home, for your time. See you next tomorrow, where we go into the next topic for discussion. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.